Gen 9 OU is doing another suspect vote, folks, and this time, it's for Kingambit, the new evolution of Bisharp. This Pokemon has been a dominant force in Gen 9 competitive singles since day one. It's great offensively and defensively, and with the power of Terra for setup turns, and the extreme game-ending potential of Supreme Overlord, which buffs your attack, depending on how many of your team members have fainted. This is an excellent late-game cleaner and just general good bulky attacker, wall breaker, and defensive pivot. It's an incredible Pokemon. Some players, myself included, think it might be a little bit too good. Despite having exploitable weaknesses in its base typing, weakness to ground and fighting, Great Tusk handles it, Ting-Lu handles it, etc. With the access to Terra, much like many other Pokemon, Terra allows Kingambit to overcome these weaknesses and gain a type like Fairy, which completely erases all of its weaknesses, allows it a turn of Swords Dance setup, and sometimes that's enough to win a game single-handedly. Unlike other Pokemon, Kingambit has a lot of possible viable Terra types, and it's a bit unpredictable. It's a bit hard without Terra type revealed in the team preview with an open team sheet system like VGC has, and the high impact of Terra in a singles environment where boost sweepers and single target attacks are obviously more powerful and game-ending. Kingambit is kind of a imbalanced Pokemon in many ways. If your last Pokemon is Kingambit, you can solo teams with it, 1v6. The threat that this guy represents is absurd, and some people think it's actually a healthy presence in the metagame. It helps against the ghost types that are a little bit hard to handle sometimes, you know. Dragapult and Goldengo, if Kingambit was banned, would get much better. That's a decent point in favor of Kingambit's role in the metagame. It's also a good offensive check to certain fast threats. With his access to Sucker Punch, you can respond to like a Dragon Dance boost sweeper or other such things. With the rise of so many speedy offensive threats in Gen 9, having priority feels more important than ever. Kingambit ticks that box for you. And it's good against Stally teams. Being bulky itself, it's Swords Dance, and even Terra Dark and Supreme Overlord to break through unaware Pokemon. It threatens something like Toxapex, even though they have Haze, taking a Swords Dance Counter Cleave in order to click Haze, having no Scold anymore, having no real way to threaten Kingambit except for hazing away its boosts and taking a huge chunk. That's an excellent asset to have against Stall. Even Dondozo is frightened of Terra Dark Supreme Overlord, despite Dondozo being viewed as kind of a hard counter to Kingambit. Kingambit, with the right set, can apply a lot of pressure to Dondozo. With its natural bulk, it can live body press after Terra Darking, because you're only times 2 weak to fighting after that. And then with enough Supreme Overlord boosts, which Dondozo can't ignore, and Terra Dark to enhance your stab counter cleave damage, you can power through something that's kind of supposed to be a hard answer to you. And this is where, you know, Terastallization and maybe Kingambit itself become almost impossible to answer, because the Terra type improves your matchup against all these things that are supposed to counter you. Type weaknesses are kind of a core part of competitive Pokemon. Terra throws that out the window a little bit. There is an element of guessing the Terra type, forcing them to Terra elsewhere. Terra as a resource that both players have access to. And there's a lot of great things that Terra has added to the game in terms of decision making, using your Terra on your win condition versus using it on a defensive Pokemon. There's a lot of interesting ways to use Terra. It rewards skill in many ways, but in many other ways it enhances Pokemon that may be balanced on their own. Kingambit on its own, I think, would be fine to deal with. Great Tusk is so prominent. Will-O-Wisp can cripple it. Something like Ting-Lu can probably check it pretty decently. But then when Terra comes into the mix, and when this Pokemon has so many possible Terra options, it becomes very unpredictable. I think the Gen 9 OU is honestly getting a bit annoying. It hasn't been a satisfying experience because of the constant instability. We keep telling ourselves, once we ban the current OP thing, everything will be fine. We'll just ban Annihilate and then everything will be no problem. Annihilate's really annoying. There's no counter to it. But once you ban that, everything will be fine. We ban Annihilate. Oh, looks like Emu is ridiculous. Chiyu, Chien-Pao, Volcarona recently. It feels like it never ends. It feels like we will never reach a point of... I'm doubtful we will ever reach a point of stability in this metagame. I don't know. We'll just ban half the game. It's not a bad thing that they're banning these Pokemon. They kind of have to. There's just so many OP Pokemon that Terra is just such a broken mechanic in singles. It's so ridiculous. They've kind of neglected the balance of singles. And Annihilate, Terra watering and clicking Bulk Up is enough to swing an entire game. A Kingambit getting a free turn to Swords Dance is a huge deal because it can now basically sweep an entire team. It's got such a sheer power to it. That's the philosophy of OU, is that we ban stuff until it becomes balanced, which can be an unsatisfying experience when you're playing it and the metagame keeps shifting. And Gen 9 happens to be a metagame where we need to ban more things to preserve OU's philosophy. And if you don't like OU's philosophy of banning things frequently because you prefer stability, a lot of you in the comments do think that way. You think that the constant bans are really annoying because your team that was once really cool, you spent time on it, now it's illegal. I actually agree with you. I find that frustrating as well. But why are we directing our hate towards Smogon and Gen 9 OU when we just simply disagree with the philosophy of OU and we can play a different format? I have been playing Ubers a lot more. You probably noticed my content is more focused on Ubers recently. My videos about Arceus and Skeledirge and Zacian. Because I've been playing Ubers, because it's stable. In Ubers, they do accept that sometimes there's going to be broken central threats, and that's just the way it is, and the meta has to form around it. That's the philosophy of Ubers, and in some ways, a lot of people dislike that. A lot of teams do have auto-includes. Miraidon is on most teams. Skeledirge is on most teams because you need a check to Zacian Crowned. Zacian Crowned is on a lot of teams, but it's stable. There's not going to be Zacian Crowned getting banned because it's on too many teams. They just think that Zacian Crowned has to exist, the metagame has to form around it. That's the way it is. So if you want that kind of gameplay, just play Ubers. If you want to play a lower power level than OU, you can play UU or RU or Little Cup. There's options. OU is just one of the options. If you don't play OU, I don't get why people have complained about it so much. Yeah, I've been giving Gen 9 OU a chance because generally I have not been a fan of like current Gen OUs. I'm an old Gen gamer. I enjoy Gen 3. I've been giving Gen 9 OU a chance this time around. I've been making a lot of videos about it. I've been playing it a lot, but recently I just haven't wanted to play it because of the constant shifting, the instability. It's not my thing. So I'm not really an authority on whether Kingambit should or should not be banned because I'm not playing the format right now. I kind of suck at it. You could say it's a skill issue. You don't want to adapt to Kingambit, so you call it broken. You're absolutely right. That is what I'm doing. I have quit Gen 9 OU basically because Kingambit's pissing me off and I don't want to deal with it. So I hate playing against King. If you're asking me, I think it should be banned because I hate it. I'm sick of the guessing game of Sucker Punch, coin flips, and what Terra type it has. That gameplay is so unsatisfying and annoying to me. And that's fine, right? I can just not play. What I'm going to do, folks, is I'm going to enter a state of cryogenic freezing, like Walt Disney. And once Gen 9 OU becomes good, you can unfreeze me, and I'll start playing it. You can wake me up from my hibernation. Maybe 10 years in the future when you've banned 30 more Pokemon, Terra's restricted, and Gen 12 just came out. Now Gen 9 OU is finally balanced, and it's a great experience. Unfreeze me, and we'll play. I'll queue up. Thanks for watching, folks. I'm back in Australia now, so there'll be more content. Regular content. Probably daily uploads. And more streams. Thank you. Thank you to the patrons. Become a patron to appear on this excellent end screen, alongside your favorite Pokemon.
The money got different, 'cause of what I'm spending. The money got different,
Oh, it's
'cause of what
Patron!
I'm spending.
Whoa!
The money
KO
got
by one
different,
hit! It's
'cause
scattered
of what I'm
spike!
spending. The money got different.